All right. So I can see Ashish, Joe, Sasrabata, Sushi, Lavjeet, more people are joining, try to join in the breach. Um, so thanks for joining, everybody. So my name is Devajit, and I'll be your instructor throughout this brand new course that we call AWS Database Specialty plus Productions Use Cases, right? So what is the objective of this course? I mean, many people they're a little bit oblivious. They don't understand what exactly this means. Like AWS database specialty, it's okay, but what do we mean by productions use cases, right? So something like that. If I just to bring that course content in front of you, so it is clearly mentioned that AWS database specialty plus productions ready courses, right? That means that whatever the topic we discuss, okay, it's definitely AWS database specialty related, but it's not typically a certifications course. Okay. When I teach any typical kind of courses like AWS Solutions Architect or maybe, and any advanced courses of AWS, so we shouldn't strict to only for the certifications, but we have to discuss more of the certifications, like the real use cases. Um, as I'm the database specialist working for a company, and that is my one of the what should I say you can say that that's my one of the forte. So whatever I've learned throughout my career, and still I'm learning from different database related every single day I handle, right, different complex situations. So this course is all about L300 and L400 level. That is level 300 and 400 level discussion that we'll have. Okay, along with this database specialty courses topic. So that means it would be a hugely benefit for your career if you have a basic database understanding, number one. And number two is in every company, it can be small, startup, enterprise, government sector, public sector, right? Database is needed everywhere. Maybe you are the developer guy, or maybe if you are the infrastructure networking guy, right? But you cannot avoid database. You need to understand database these days, right? Now, people are talking about that one, right? The AI/ML. So today we live in the AI/ML era, right? And there must be a vector DB. So you can store your vector database in some of the DB. So there are a lot. So your database portfolio is expanding every single day. Okay. So that is very important. So this particular course you can see is a brand new course, and this brand new means this course is not limited to AWS database certifications. Repeatedly, I am telling you, but it's more of real hands-on level 300 and 400 level discussions. Okay, so it's very important. And throughout the course, that would be 80 to 90% practical, because I believe the practical actually will help you, not the theory. Okay, yes, we need to understand theory, but at the same time, we'll do practical. That's why you can see my screen. I've already logged in my AWS console. Okay, and we'll start from the console, and then we'll discuss theory to understand, okay, to connect whatever we are trying to achieve. So that is the objective of the entire course. That is the context. So just that's why I would like to set the context before we start this entire journey, so that you will understand what is the expectations from that course. You understand? Okay. So database specialty certifications, right? So AWS database specialty certification, it is more about only AWS database related discussion. And different AWS database solutions. It can be, transactional database. It can be, NoSQL, SQL database, vector database, time stream database. There are a lot. So we need to understand at which use cases, what sort of database you have to use, right? We'll discuss a lot of this maybe later point of time, but that is very important for you. Maybe you are the solutions architect or cloud engineer, or you are exploring cloud. Okay, This is the first time maybe you are hearing about cloud. Who knows? But you really need to understand that in your solutions, how the database can be positioned in your solutions layer, and which sort of database you need to pick and choose for your solution that would be a scalable and high available, right? That is the main objective of any database administrator or database solutions provider in the market. So having said that, I will again bring this course content, and quickly if I go through uh, and last couple of pages from where you can see. So this entire course content, the duration will be 45 hours. So it's a pretty big courses, uh, big course and all of the contents. And we'll start the introductions, and then slowly we'll deep dive, these different database solutions and varieties from AWS. And whatever the topic we'll discuss, at the same time, we'll discuss the real productions use case, sort of use cases discussion and practical hands-on. Okay. So out of this 45 hours, you can take expectation simply on an average like 80 to 90% practical should be there throughout the courses. Okay. And if you think that you cannot give time properly for the practical exam, practical in all of the lab, then probably this course will not fit for you, being honest with you, because all we need that the practical I will provide a lot of lab assignments, and it's kind of interactive course. It's not a one-way approach, right? You have to also you have also be part of the discussion, and you can share your knowledge as well. That is the again little bit expectation I would like to set here before we start. All right. Any questions so far, guys? I mean, you clear what is this course all about and what we're trying to achieve here? Okay. First of all, tell me you hear me okay. You can see my screen. Anybody can say yes. That would be great help for me.
Yeah.
Yes, it's clear.
Super, super. All right. So let me first again, a little bit theory is needed, otherwise you don't understand, right? So today, you can consider these are demo class or whatever you call it, the first day or whatever. So we really need to understand what is high availability and disaster recovery solutions in the databases. Okay. Anybody can volunteer and just help me to understand what do you mean by the high availability and disaster recovery at the database level? What is the importance of that? And what do you mean by high availability and disaster recovery? What are the main differences between that?
High availability means the database remains available 24/7 for the service it is used for, it is intended for. And disaster recovery means if the whole site goes down or database becomes unavailable and needs some time to be recovered, then how to restore the service as quick as possible. And during restoring that service, what is the alternate option we can give to the service so that service continues while we are trying to recover the corrupt database or the site.
Absolutely. That is a really correct answer and spot on, for thanks for explaining beautifully. So that is the description or definition of high availability and disaster recovery, right? So we'll discuss more into practical. First, if I just go to the next slide, that one will start with that. So you can see what PPT, it is a full page PPT, or you can see some slider, because I cannot see, I am using two dual screen, little complex for me. Are you seeing this PPT enter screen wise, full screen, or what
Yeah,
is
we're seeing full screen
full screen?
regions and
Okay.
availability zone slide.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, full screen, that's okay. So that is the thing, right? Since we are discussing about AWS, and we cannot start AWS without understanding the region and availability zones, right? This is super important. Though it's not AWS Solutions Architect or others class, but this is important for across any certifications, any course from AWS that you need to take. So region is a geographical presence, okay, of AWS. That means the geographical data centers spread across different countries. So I'm trying to explain my own language, but AWS does have their own different language. But you need to understand first, the region means AWS does have multiple data center across geographies. Okay, it can be North Virginia, it can be in Europe, it can be India, it can be anywhere. So there are multiple regions you have in AWS, right? Still it's expanding. And availability zones, these are the logical data centers inside a region. You can see in the screen on my left hand side. Region 1, it has 3 availability zones. For an example, hypothetically, so region A, B, and C. These are all logical data centers, okay, inside a region, and they are far away each other. When I say far away each other means there's a meaningful distance, okay. That means in availability zone A itself a data center, a cluster of data centers, B and C as well, and they are far away each other with a meaningful distance, and they are interconnected between each other with a high throughput, less high throughput, less latency, fiber network. So that means if one availability zone goes down, then other, yeah, sorry, you have a question? Somebody is saying something, or can you please go mute, please? Vishal, I think I can see you are talking. So these availability zones, as I said, and they are interconnected. So if one availability zone goes down, then availability zone B and C exist, and all of the data are continuously replicate across each and availability zones between these availability zones, so that your data will be safe. And that is a perfect example of high availability this Farhan tried to explain, right? So if I put any server or database in AZ1 or AZA and AZB or AZC, and if those databases are interconnected and replications between each other, then at any point of time, if AZ1 goes down, then availability zone B still exists, and this automatic failover will happen automatically from AWS perspective or AWS end. So your end user, your end customers, or your application doesn't have any kind of downtime, or they cannot see any kind of disruptions at their applications. And that is something called a high availability, because your databases or the applications are high available, okay, so that your applications will be up and running all the time. Correct? So you can easily spread your database in multiple AZs. That can be also possible. So we'll see the demo, it's the practical right now after this, this slide. And then I can see, or we can see region 2 as well. And it has got its own family. You can see this availability zone A, B, and C as well in region 2. And there's another arrows between that. And it's kind of a self-explanatory, like, this region and region 2 also, they are interconnected. So that means, for an example, if your entire region goes down, and if you have this kind of replication between region 1 and region 2, then your databases or applications still survive or up, because your region 2 is exist and it will take the failover. And that is the example of disaster recovery. Okay, disaster recovery solutions. So that means if entire region goes down, you have got another region to take failover. Or if you don't have region 2, you are very much focused only to have high availability, then you can go for this region and multi-AZ. That is the term you shouldn't forget in your entire life if you are dealing with AWS. So multi-AZ, this is the word, so that it will provide you the high availability. Make sense? Okay. Quickly, what I'll do, I'll just go through another very good explanations, the pictorial representations about this high availability. So you can see the same thing. I'm just trying to explain, like now you have got one region and multiple AZs, and now let's say you have a MySQL RDS. Okay, MySQL is one of the database engines, very popular, right? Now it's a part of Oracle, and it's open source. And you have application servers across 3 AZs. Okay, so these are app server, these are app server, app server. And now in this situation, you have only one RDS, and all of the applications are connecting to single database engine. Okay, now is there any problem there? Or if you think that it is good architecture or can be a better architecture? Anybody can explain. So is it good? So now I have spread across my application server across different AZs, and I have only one database sitting inside AZ A. Do you think any challenge here? Okay.
Yeah, I think this is what we call single point of failure, that if MySQL instance becomes unavailable or availability zone A is not available, then your application won't be accessible at all.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Parag. Thanks. So that is the right answer again. So that is a single point of failure. So if I lose my databases, then none of my application server are connecting to my database. So your data application is served down. But what if this one? So let's say the same thing, for unexplained, right? So if this RDS MySQL goes down, then boom, I mean, your application will return 404 error, 500 error, something bad. Now, what if my enter AZ goes down? Ooh, that is the big problem, right? So the same thing, you don't have any database to serve your applications. So people get into that. So something like that. So if you have primary database and now if you have the secondary database, okay. So let's say if the primary database, it has got their own, disk. Okay, that is from AWS language, they call EBS. So don't get confused with all of the different nomenclature on EBS. These are AWS term, elastic block storage. So that means this database, that is my primary database, it has got their own storage, and I can see there's another database called standby, a secondary database, and it has got its own volume. The moment you will go for multi-AZ replications, something I am going to explain in a practical also. So multi-AZ, now you understand, you are a little smarter now to understand what is multi-AZ. So now you are spreading your entire database footprint across different AZs. So this green arrow, this blue arrow tells us that, okay, the moment you apply multi-AZ, so this volume and that volume is continuously replicated. Very important term, replications between these two volumes. Now I have another question for you guys. If I say replications, there are two kinds of replication in the world. One is synchronous replication, one is asynchronous replications. Any guess what could be this replication, or what the replication should be for this architecture? Should it be synchronous or asynchronous? Little confusing question, a little tricky question, but try to answer. We are here to learn, so right, wrong, all of the answers are welcome, but don't be shy, because the entire course, the objective when I teach, that it should be very interactive.
I think synchronous.
Super. Who answered that? I cannot see who answered.
Sushil.
Sushil, welcome Sushil. Yeah, why synchronous, Sushil?
Synchronous, it's required to sync every time. For that reason, I think it's synchronous. Means every
Absolutely. Yeah. right? As I understand what you're trying to say, synchronous, because in the database world, synchronous means it is a sheer shot. Your database will get replicated on the other side. It's a plain English. If you go for the networking terminology, that's a synchronous, and there's a TCP acknowledgement. If you know that, then you must know that was the kind of acknowledgement needed, right? If the moment you send the data to another location, there's an acknowledgement back. Okay, I got it, right? Then your source, they say, okay, I know now. I'm super confident now. My data is here. So it's the TCP acknowledgement. So yeah, the synchronous replications is the right answer. So now if I move on. So this arrow tells us, okay, yes, I got your data. Okay. And it will reply back to your database engine. Okay, my replication is done. Okay, sir, because I have enabled multi-AZ, my data is now also copied over to another EBS. I'm done my job, sir. All right. So we'll deep dive what is write latency, cumulative latency of local write is a typically database language. We'll park right now. So now we are talking about something like this, right? So now we have got another node in the different AZs, and that is something called synchronous replications. Somebody called physical replication as well, between two nodes. Now another question, because we'll deep dive, right? That is the level 300, 400 level course. Now synchronous, Sushil tried to answer and he answered correctly. But what do you mean by physical replication? Confusing, huh? Lot of questions. But what is physical replication? Synchronous replication / physical replications. Okay. The physical replication means that replication is happening at the storage level. The physical replication means the replication is happening at the storage level. That means the EBS volume and another EBS volume, two availability zones volumes, there's a replication at that level. Okay, so that's why it's a physical replication, sometimes somebody calls synchronous replication, the same thing here. So now this application server still connecting to my first database node, but now is replication here. In case my first node goes down, so this radius MySQL now will become the primary, which is early as a secondary, and all of the data is there already. So now automatically AWS RDS will fail it over to the secondary databases, and all of the application servers will communicate to that databases. So your application will be fantastic, fine, up and up and up. Okay, healthy. So many students ask me, or even my company, sir, how this flip happens? It cannot be magic, right? How your application can understand that this database now is primary and all stuff. Any idea, gentlemen, who will join? Okay, it is happening at the DNS level. I'll show you in the demo. So in the RDS, still AWS using a backend, the DNS, which is AWS name is Route 53. There's the internal flip automation AWS has done. It is not your job. I mean, you will only enjoy using AWS RDS, that's it. But at the backend, there's automations there, and this flip is happening at the DNS level, at the Route 50 level, so that you will have only one connections endpoint. I repeat, very, very important, guys. One connections endpoint. That means if you have two AZs, two AZs and two nodes, right? But even though we have two nodes, you have only one connections endpoint. So your application will only understand that one connection endpoint. It will not, they are not aware that how many nodes and their endpoint are different. They will only know one cluster endpoint from your language, on-premise language. You used to call it virtual IP. If you are the Windows guy, if you know Windows cluster, then probably you heard about this a virtual IP Windows cluster, right? You will have only one connections endpoint. And at the back end, all of the failover things happen. The same thing applies here. You will have only one connections endpoint, and your applications will access to that connection endpoint. That means at your applications file, your configuration file, your application developer will put there in their connection string. We'll see how this connection string will work in the subsequent lectures. Then how your application can communicate to the database in their connection string and class, the connections endpoint, and their user ID, password, all of these authentications method. But at this stage, we need to understand that flips happen at the DNS level. You have only one connection endpoint. AWS will flip in automatic failover to second AZ databases, and your second AZ database will become a primary. And there's no downtime. All right. So now let's go back to practical. We'll come back here. Probably you're not unfamiliar with this console, right? If you know AWS, or if maybe you have done some AWS basic stuff. So AWS console is the first place to hit, right? So I'll show you how to create AWS account in subsequent lecture, but today's demo. So this is AWS console, management console, and what you need to do, just type RDS. RDS stands for Relational Database Service. Okay, so don't get confused. Relational Database Service means any relational database engine should come under RDS. Now, question is, what is relational database service? Relational database can be MySQL, MS SQL, PostgreSQL, MariaDB, Oracle, MS SQL Server. These are all of the transactional database. They are called OLTP, right? So if you go to database and go to create database, you'll see these engines are very popular, right? So right now it's IBM DB2 and reInvent. AWS also launched this IBM DB2. Now if you can host IBM DB2 on RDS as well. So these are the available engines you should remember all the time, like MySQL, MariaDB, PostgreSQL, Oracle, Microsoft SQL Server, IBM DB2, and there's another automation logic which is Aurora MySQL and Aurora PostgreSQL compatible. Okay, this is another flavor of RDS. We'll discuss a lot about Aurora, but today let's stick to this understanding of high availability and disaster recovery. So what I can do, that is the console. Let me create a database. Okay, and let's start with MySQL. This is the information page. So if you go down, you can see this MySQL community. That means MySQL is an open source database engine, right? Okay, before we start again, get into deep dive there. So what is RDS? Very straightforward questions to everybody. What is the beauty that your customer, you should use RDS? Why not a simply EC2 and install MySQL over there, or PostgreSQL over there, or SQL Server over there, and start using that? Why on the earth people should prefer RDS? Come on, pretty easy questions.
I think this is because you want to take away the headache of managing databases and the service to ensure a database is available and interface to the application is available, and you just worry about what database structure and the data inside it. So it's like database management being taken away from being managed by the organization. I think that's the advantage.
Absolutely, that is the right answer. That is the beauty that people should use this RDS. So again, I repeat. So RDS is a managed database offering. When I say manage, means AWS will manage the database day-to-day operations like backup, high availability, as I said, explained, right? Automatic high availability, disaster recovery solutions, right? they are patching there, and there are a whole lot of automations there. And now performance tuning is part of that automation as well. It will automatically tell you in which query what sort of tuning you need, you need to follow, etc. So as a whole, yes, that's the correct. That whenever you see the managed solution, a managed service from AWS, can be database or anywhere, it is something AWS manages for you. Now, since this class is typically very advanced level, so that is anybody know, this statement anybody knows these days. But ultimately, what? So many customer, when I communicate with my customers, they say, okay, the moment I take RDS, that means my headache is less. My answer is no, sir. Your headache is still there up to query tuning your functions or stored procedure for fine tuning level. That means AWS will not help you for your database tuning part. AWS will only tell you, okay, this is the stored procedure, this is the query, the bad query, you can do a fine tune that. But AWS will not go and fine tune your query on behalf of you. Okay. So AWS will not go and create the indexes for your database. No. AWS will not go and do some kind of vacuum or MySQL analyze, or there are a lot of other fine tuning things for you. At the infrastructure level, AWS will do all of these beautiful work and this management thing. But when you talk to your real customer, then this question is very common. You will get this kind of question from every single day, that okay, the moment I will go for RDS, that means I will remove my database administrator. No, you have to keep your database administrator with the same pride and glory, because your database administrator now focus more on the regular database, like fine tuning query and all stuff. But yes, backup, high availability, all of this stuff will go to an RTS. Clear? Very important, okay? Because I'm trying to make you a real database guy, and this kind of things you should know, okay? Under the hood. Okay, let's continue. This is MySQL community, and there are a lot of different engine versions. So now there's a version that multi-AZ DB cluster. There's also this optimized writes. We'll deep dive there. What exactly today is only few minutes to explain. I don't have much time or you. So this is something like multi-AZ DB cluster quickly for 30 seconds. That is a relatively new offering from AWS, that you can have a 2 reader and 1 writer out of the box, and it is a very good performance for your overall database cluster. And there's another solutions. AWS recently released the RDS optimized writes. That means if you go for this option, then your customer expects the 2 times faster, write or commit transactions, right? Any write, like select into something you write or updates in your database. So they will get a very better performance with no additional cost. Interesting part. But that is something this particular option is all about. Okay, since you will become a database guy, you should know what are the latest database engine at the market. Now, can I repeat? The moment we are discussing this AWS database specialty and this production use case, doesn't mean that your focus is only and only AWS. AWS is not creating any databases, right? They are using the existing database engines readily available in the market, and then they are adding their fine-tuned automatic layer and all other automations around that. But if you don't know what is the MySQL latest version available from Oracle, what is the MS SQL latest version, or Oracle latest version, then you will not look smart. You understand I'm coming from where? So this engine version, you should be very aware of that. What is the current engine version? So you can see right now MySQL 8.0.35 or MySQL 8 is available in RDS. Also, you have to check what is the actual engine version from Oracle for that, okay, in the market. So it's a pretty newer engine version that's the default one, which is 8.0.35. That's the default one. You can switch to 36 or back. So 5.7 is now getting obsoleted, right? Probably Oracle or MySQL, they are already discontinued this MySQL 5.7. Now production use cases. So whenever we discuss one point, we'll, as I said, deep dive to that same point. Be ready with your notebook, whatever you have. So MySQL 5.7 discontinued from Oracle, but still RDS offers 5.7.37. Why? No, 5.7 stack. Why? Because many customer, they're using 5.7 still for the application, and overnight it is not possible for any company to change database engine. Okay, that's a real situation. You cannot say and go to AWS, your customer, sir, now you have to change 5.8, 5.7 to 8. So your customer will not happy on you because it's not realistic, right? They have to use 5.7 for maybe for a few more months, because that transitions, that breath time you have to give. Okay. So what AWS says that, okay, even though 5.7 support is discontinued from Oracle, but in AWS, you have an extended support available. Okay. So if your customers still use 5.7, they can use, but they have to pay a little extra if they want to do a extended support from AWS. That means extended support means they will get the same support from Oracle in case any database related patching or database related bug, that AWS will support for them on behalf of MySQL. So we'll have a full slide, AWS slide, that will share with you. So that is the point, guys. The moment you are spending your time here in this particular session with me, each and every point is very important, because I frequently tell all of the things. Maybe I forget something, but you just take a note, because it's randomly coming to my mind throughout my discussion with my customers throughout the days and years, months. Okay, so this 5.7 is a pretty common questions these days. Many customers are still using 5.7. So you should say that, okay, AWS provides extended support with little price there. You can continue with 5.7 with extended support, but later point of time, definitely you have to go for migrate to 8.0.
Divesh sir,
Yeah,
a question.
yeah.
If we migrate a customer to 5.7 on AWS RDS,
Yeah.
then switching to 8.x, is that easily like hot uh, upgrade, or
Hmm.
I mean, does Amazon support that transition and the rollback procedure as well if needed, or how that is taken care of?
That's a very good question. I like it. So who would like to answer this question? So let's this a kind of discussions put up. Okay, I will answer definitely to a question. So anybody would like to answer for our question is a very important question. Question is, if customer is using 5.7 and now the migration things come into the picture and they would like to migrate from 5.7 to 8.x or something, will AWS help for this migration, or any bugs, there's a rollback situations there, or how is it? How seamless customer will migrate to 8? It's a major upgrade though, yeah, because 5.7 to 8, it's a major upgrade, so it is a quite risky for them. Who would like to answer? Okay, I will
Hi, there
answer.
was,
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
in my understanding, all kinds of this work, I mean, with the product support is dependent on the agreement with the vendor, I mean, the AWS, and what kind of partnership we are having. And if there is a issue with, because now the second part is from old database version to new database. Always new versions are supported for the customer. But if it is beyond support, I mean, fallback might not be supported if it is beyond support. Suppose for Windows 7 to migrating to Windows, the latest version 12 or 11, that may be supported by Microsoft, but if we fall back, then Microsoft might not support because it's beyond support, even though you are a gold partner.
Very good answer. Thank you, Dr. So yes, let me explain from my language, Farhan, to answer the question. So whenever this migration will come into the picture, first thing is testing at customer end. When I say testing means they have to really create this MySQL 8.0 at their testing environment, okay, and they will do a kind of POC because there's a lot of dependency at the application level. Okay, so your application is a legacy applications now, right? And if you would like to change to databases, then there's a lot of dependency at the applications level as well. So the answer is you have to tell your customer that, okay, you can create your testing environment and go for the POC and see if there any kind of functionality error at the applications when you transition this 5.7 to 8. If they don't see any issues, then you can upgrade 5.7 to 8. But AWS will not help you for this rollback options. I mean, if there are any bugs, anything bad happened during these migrations. So AWS will not help you in terms of automatically go for 5.8, 8 is not working, then go back to 5.7. It's completely AWS customer responsibility. I mean, their customer responsibility. Like proper testing, sit with your application team, do a proper functional and logical whatever the testing you have to do. Then if you see, okay, I have upgraded my database to 8.0x and my application now compatible with 8, then safely you can migrate from 5.7 to 8. Farhan.
Right, sir. My question is more of that's totally understood that obviously POC and prior verification needs to be done before we do it in production. But my question was because RDS basically hides or abstracts our access to the database host. For example, if I have VM running and I install MySQL, then I'll follow MySQL procedures for the upgrade, right? But here, RDS is hiding me the access to the host. So how do we realize the upgrade? Does RDS service take care of that?
Yes,
Or do
yes,
we?
yes.
Right.
Very good question. So I like it. So basically, you don't have any operating system access when you use RDS, right? You only
Correct.
mentioned,
Yeah,
but
that's
yeah, that's some of the customer they like it, some of the customer they don't like it because they need a full control of this operating system level access sometimes. Because I am not impressed about this customer statement though, because you really don't need to have access to operating system level access. But yes, to answer your questions, whenever you upgrade something, RDS automatically use their own procedure for this upgrade. Okay, and then it's kind of automatic way. I mean, you really don't need to bother about how upgrades is happening. They are doing their own in place upgradation, some other mechanism, but this upgradation will be taken care by RDS automation itself. Okay, and you really don't need to have access to operating system level to see typically a MySQL way, whatever you're doing for the VM world, VM level.
got it. Thank you, sir. That answers my question. And also
Yes.
for the rollback, does RDS offer rollback, assuming that rollback from Y to X release back is supported path? So does RDS offer that or no?
If during the rollback, if something happened at the infrastructure level, okay, or maybe the kernel level, then RDS will support to 5.7. So let's say from 5.7 to 8, the upgradation has started and something happened at the infrastructure level or the kernel level or database engine level, then RDS will do stop this kind of upgradation and then restart or reattempt. Okay. So that's
Understood.
something again RDS will take care of. And it will clearly say that this database cannot be upgraded and the reason, error code, etc. You'll get it and then reattempt that. Okay. So the
Got it.
always good practice that, for the productions, don't touch your productions unless until a proper, testing and POC. Okay. Maybe you can create a clone or copy of another database and then do a migration from 5.7 and 8 and see this there any problem there or not. If you see there's a seamless, then you can start with the productions. That's the approach, right? You should follow.
Understood. Understood. And one last question, sir, on the same topic.
Yes. Tell me. Yeah.
Does Amazon offer the kind of parallel database service for the cool off period? For example, I say day
Mhm.
one, I want to migrate from version X to Y,
Mhm.
but I want to keep my RDS running on X in parallel, just in case I want to point back my applications to that for, let's say, 7 days cool
Mhm.
off. Do we have that kind of option available? Because
Good.
in production,
Mhm.
in the
Mhm.
like on-cloud environment, that is typical practice that you host a database and you pick a new host altogether for the new version. You point the application, but you take care of parallel provisioning to both the versions. Meanwhile, and you have an option then during cool off period to switch back for any unseen issues you may experience, right? So in cloud environment, do we have that flexibility? If
Um,
you using RDS,
RTS you don't have, but in Aurora you can do that. Because the moment you do the RDS will copy the entire database under one instances. Okay, you really don't have this kind of selections that only I need A, B, C databases under instances. What it happens that the moment you upgrade, let's say under one instance you have got three databases, right? So all of the databases will get migrated or upgraded. Okay.
yes.
That is something. But the parallel thing you cannot do, but you can have a different approach for that. Something called a DMS. Very interesting questions. I really need to discuss more on that. So the DMS, database migration service, you can actually have this kind of approach. This is kind of CDC. Let's say you have a one instance under the three databases, right? Now you want to upgrade only A databases to newer instances or newer RDS node. So then you can select the DMS and only select that database to migrate first. It's a continuous database replication, CDC. Okay, those continuous data changes. Now what
Right.
happens is that you will have the same replica of the A to second node as well, right? Then the data is continuously syncing between that. And now you decide, okay, maybe Saturday night or Sunday night, there's a final cutover is needed because I've checked all of the database value, verification, everything is done. Then you can switch back to your second node, which will become a primary for the database A. That is the different way you can do, Karan.
Got it. Thank you
We,
very
we,
much.
we'll discuss more on that all of
Sure.
these use cases whenever it's happening. Very good, interesting question.
Sure. Thank you.
Super. Okay. Others have been quite. Who is TAB? TAB. Can you please change the name, the actual name? And I can see Joe, Sushil, Vishru, and Abrar. All right. So let's move on this MySQL engine. So we discuss a lot on this versioning, and probably you'll get some of the understanding. And now in this availability and durability, we'll discuss what is multi-AZ DB instances. Single DB instance is a single point of failure, right? That we've already discussed that means only you have one database. But this multi-AZ DB instance that will have two databases across different AZs. Many customers they've asked me, Devajit, that the moment I'll go for multi-AZ, that means can I use my secondary nodes? That means if I bring back my that architecture, so that is the situation, right? So now you have got two node. Multi-AZ means you have got a two node. Can your customer use this secondary node? Yes or no? Because I have got two nodes, right? And they are syncing each other, right? So can I use that node?
If
Answer.
it's
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Sushi.
if it's standby mode, then we can not access. After following this fast primary, then we can access the secondary.
Nice, nice. Yes. So the more if you stand by the name itself with a standby, that means you really cannot use this machine. But when the failover happen, anyways, you can. I mean, obviously you can access because now it's become primary, right? So that is something very confusing some of the customers. So the standby means you cannot access Even you cannot see in RDS, I will show you. Even you cannot see these standby instances. Only during these catastrophic things happen, or maybe it's down, then probably this, then not probably, then you will see this, the endpoint name will get changed. Okay, we'll show you. So that is something multi-DB instances, and then this kind of questions will come a lot from your customer. Then your answer should be like that. What is multi-DB cluster? We'll discuss later. So now this you have to define a database. Oh my God, it's 5:52. Okay, that is the problem, right? When we discuss, and so there's no time check. So let's say if I go database, let's say HR databases for an example. HR. And then username, whatever, blah, 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 you can think. Okay, that's very interesting thing that we'll discuss a lot about secret manager. The secret manager is another AWS service where you can save your database user ID password very safe. Plain English. The secret manager is a service where you can save your database user and password very safe. Okay, and there is a beautiful official documentation from AWS that we'll discuss and see how can use that. But as of now, I really don't need to use AWS Secret Manager for this demo. All I need to have a kind of username and auto-generated password. And then the different DB instances options there, and we'll discuss a lot right now. There's a lot of performance tuning that we'll discuss in this entire class, right? What sort of database engines you need to pick and choose for the right requirement. At this stage, in interest of price as well, I can go for the T classes, which is very bustable instances, nominal cost. Maybe I can choose this 2 virtual CPU 4 GB instance. But you can see, if you go for the memory optimized, you can see a huge boxes of the instances. You can see there's a 64 virtual CPU, and it's 96 and 768 GB RAM, 2 TB RAM. So there's a whole lot of different families. And of course, there's a huge price for that. So I'll choose this T3 medium, and then storage types. There's a different storage type as well. There's IO on GP3. Yesterday, I discussed with one of my customers, and they are from the smart meter, solutions provider. So whatever I'm discussing, real case, as I said, I'll touch base quickly. So they needed a very high throughput and high IOPS, because their smart meter, they need a lot of writes and reads IOPS. So I suggested the GP3. They were not convinced. They are saying, okay, don't look at the money, but I need the performance. Then I had to propose this IO1. So the IO1 means you will get a very high IOPS, input output per second, up to 16,000 GB, and then you can see there's a 80,000 IOPS you can provision. How many of you know what is IOPS? Everybody know what is IOPS, input output per second? If you don't, you can go through Google after this meeting, after this training, because if you have an interest in database, then IOPS is a kind of a good recipe for you to know, because this is something very important, because many customers, they have a IOPS issue and their database is absolutely slow, application bad. There's a lot of world crisis situation. So you really need to know how many IOPS they need, and then you have to propose the right solutions from the database perspective. And it's very costly also. For me, GP3 is fantastic, and 20 GB is also works for this demo. Okay, this is a same song and dance, like VPC security group. Again, guys, one thing is very important. I am not going to teach very basic AWS in this course, because I don't have any much time, in interest of everybody's time. So for entire course, if you don't know what is VPC, what is subnet, then this is not a right course for you. Okay, initially I'm telling you, you can take course from anywhere, at least have some understanding of the basic AWS stuff, like what is VPC, subnetting, security group. Then probably you can relate to this course, because this course is advanced level course. Okay, so I can park right now what is VPC subnetting. So I chose VPC and subnet, and this is a public access, definitely no. Okay, because it is not recommended to have your database on the DMZ zone. This is a one premises or networking name, but in AWS, this is something called private subnet and public subnet, right? Again, it's basic. So you shouldn't host your database in public subnet from the security reason. If you do that, then somebody is really not happy about you. Those are the security guys, okay? And you will fail in the audit and you will become a bad database guy. So always put your database in private subnet, which is public access. No. Okay. Another very cool stuff, RDS proxy. Again, we'll discuss later. These are fantastic solutions. 3-4 customers I gave, and they are happy about this. So RDS proxy, quickly for 2 seconds, 3 seconds. So RDS proxy is a kind of service that it has an intelligence to manage your connections. Okay. So if you have 1,000 of connections in the database, then what happens if you have a more and more connections? Then your database health will not be good, because too many connections will bog down your computing of your databases. Okay, the moment you choose RDS proxy, it has its own intelligence. It will understand which connection is needed, which connection is not needed, and it is gracefully manage your connections. We'll discuss a lot on that. Okay, what is this? Okay. How these things will come automatically? Somebody is accessing or it? Interesting. Okay, so now here in the RDS proxy, I chose blank, and then again the database authentication, that you can have a password authentication or you have IAM or Kerberos authentication. We'll discuss later. Then backup, you need to choose what sort of backup, additional configuration. This is interesting. Enhanced monitoring, by default it's enabled. What is that? We'll discuss. That means it will give you a more operating system level monitoring. And in the additional configurations, that is an initial database name you can define or leave it a blank. So many again, customer, they got confused that I already defined one database which HR. Now it is asking again for the database. What's that? So earlier it was the instance level. This is my database level. You all know, right, what is instance and databases at the database language. Okay, I'll explain in 5 minutes after this. So this is something backup, and then there are locks. Don't worry, we'll discuss each and every point a lot, unless and until you bore. And then disable these delete protections. So create databases. So now it will take some time to create. So you can see there's a database is getting provision. The database name is HR, and it will take some time, 5-10 minutes for that. And this is something's creating. I'm bringing another tool because you will see this tool I'm going to use a lot. This is my whiteboarding tool, and you should also use this whiteboarding when you discuss with your customer. Maybe you are the networking guy or database application, whoever you are. So this is a nice tool. Draw.io is a free tool. You can use, anybody can use. So at the database level, you have the instances. Okay, so whenever you create the database, first thing you have to give a instance name. Okay, let's say database A, something like that, or as per your company policy. And under this instance, you should have multiple actual databases, right? So this is maybe payroll or sales, who knows, maybe it's for different retail, etc. And under this database, you can have a multiple objects like tables, schema. You have a schema, right, inside the databases, right? You have a multiple objects. Okay, so that's how any database constructs their hierarchy, right, from the OLTP perspective. OLTP means transactional processing database. So that is exactly I did. Like the first I gave a HR, which is this instance name, and then I payroll, that would be the database name. Okay. All right. Back. I will have another 10 minutes and then we'll wrap up. That since it's a demo. So that is the story, right? Now it is a multi-AZ failover process. Now I have just created databases multi-AZ. Still at the back end, it is getting provision. And now you can see the replication is from right to left. Earlier it's a left to right, but now it is my primary. Sushil, you rightly pointed out, right? Because now it is a failed over. Now it has become my primary. And the earlier one has become my secondary, which was down that point of time. And so the replication should be from my right and left. This is very easy math, right? From right and left. Earlier so left to right, now it's right to left. So in case during the failover, let's say that the entire story, my primary goes down, my secondary has become primary. So there's a typical failover time is 1 to 2 minutes. Your customer will definitely ask this question. So what would be my failover time for that? So during this failover, this 1 to 2 minutes a downtime, you have to tell your customer. Okay, and that is because of the DNS propagations. Because at the end there is a 2 database nodes. Okay, okay, it brings me a very interesting topic to discuss. So now you have got 2 databases, right? I'm not going to write AZs again and again. And these two databases now, they have got a one connections endpoint common. This is something I tried to explain, right? Common connections endpoint. Okay. And if this is your applications or multiple applications, right? So they ultimately talks or connects to these connection endpoints. So they don't know who is A and B. At the back end, we know this A and B. If the A goes down, so currently the flow is all of the applications data is going to this A, okay, through this connection endpoint. In case A goes down, your application, they don't bother about A and B. So automatically at the back end, Route 53 will transfer a failover over to B because the connections endpoint remains same. Hugely important, guys. The connections endpoint, which is same. Please remove somebody, try to hack or something. I don't understand. So it is continue the TUI, somebody is trying to join. And so this is something happening. So in the RDS, the moment you're creating multi-AZ, so there's a common connections endpoint is getting provision. Your application only hit to this connections endpoint, right? And that is this failover time because of the DNS propagations. Make sense? Questions? Okay. You still hear me, right, guys?
Yes.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
All right. So I'll not get into there because the 2 big presentations directly from AWS. But now if I go back to this console, you can see there's a different status. Okay, there's a start modifying, then you will see there's a backing up. So if I go to this HR, you can see now you have got this endpoint. Exactly, I was talking about this endpoint. Okay, so this endpoint, you have to set at your application's config file. If it's .NET, then probably you can define in your .NET code, in the PHP, Java, whatever, and port is same. And if you see, go down, if you see there's a option called configurations, and you see there's a, right now it is a little confusing. Many customers, they got confused that multi-ASI is selected, yes, now no. After some time, you'll see this yes. Okay, so don't worry about that. And there's a whole lot of different sections, and that is all for demo today. This is pretty straightforward, but there are a lot things waiting. You see there's a 45 hours course, and for each and every hours we will deep dive and spend a good amount of time there.
Devash sir, a quick question. The
Okay.
service FQDN for database service endpoint, is that publicly resolvable FQDN, or does it resolve just inside the Amazon scope?
It is inside.
It's inside. So if I try to connect using that FQDN from outside Amazon, it won't connect over the internet, right?
It is not, but the way you have to do something like that. Let's say this is your AWS, right? VPC, for an example, how things will work actually, okay? And you definitely have the subnets now. Right? That is the golden rule of provisioning AWS. And what exactly I'm going to, so we have done here, this is your RDS sitting there in the private subnet. So this is a private subnet.
Yes.
Right? And this is your public. So if you are sitting here and try to manage your database, there are two ways. One is you can establish a VPN. Okay, so you can actually have a VPN. Maybe it's IPsec VPN. Okay, IPsec, or you can have there's a third-party VPN tool these days, like OpenVPN, right? So there's a small EC2 instances where you will deploy OpenVPN. Okay, and you need to install this OpenVPN in your laptop. Let's say this is your laptop or desktop, and you need to install the OpenVPN client, right? So there's a small project going on today, 9 p.m. All one of my customer exactly the same. So this OpenVPN client, so you can connect this OpenVPN, and then you can establish, then you can connect the AWS as a whole, right? Because the connection, and then you can connect this RDS using your database client. It can be SSMS for SQL Server, or MySQL Workbench for your database connections, right? So MySQL Workbench is a database client that you can connect. So this approach you can do, or many customer, what they do, they create a small bastion host or jump server in the public subnet. Okay, bastion or jump. They will first connect to that bastion over the internet, not VPN, something needed. And then from there, they can connect to this database using the same MySQL Workbench, because SSMS MySQL Workbench actually sitting inside this bastion host. Make sense, Farhan?
Yes, it does. Thank you.
Yeah. So these are very interesting questions that Farhan keeps on asking, guys. So probably this is same thing you really need to live every single day. Okay, if you would like to stable your career with databases, and there's a really good career for you in upcoming world, because situation is now AI/ML has come, and there's a lot of database progressions happening. So database is the right thing for your career choice along with whatever you're doing. So these are the basic things that your customer will ask, how I can access RDS, because RDS connection endpoint is a private, right? So either you can establish a IPsec VPN, OpenVPN, or jump server. These three combination can work to connect your RDS, which is actually sitting in the private subnet. Okay. If you have any questions, okay. Now you can see the status has got changed to modifying stage. Okay. And then after that, you can see there's a backing up, and then finally you can see, but now I can see only one database. So many customers, they keep on asking the same question, that I cannot see in standby. Then you have to tell, okay, you cannot see the standby, sir. All you can see your databases, but at the back end, there's a continuous replications happening. So the moment you can see now it's multi-AZ, yes. If any anomaly happens, anything bad happens, then automatically your secondary node will become the primary. Because you don't really need to concern about your connections endpoint because they are same now. Hope you understand. And that's all about today's demo. And really looking forward to have you for these databases if you are interested. And we'll cover each and every database engines, and I have all of the backend database team connects from AWS as well, sometime for some purpose. And then some of the deep dive discussion also, you can bring it on the table to have a more discussions on that.
So a few quick questions about this course. So the timing for this course is for the weekends, right? Saturdays and Sundays?
That's all I can afford, Farhan, because of the timing issue.
Yes.
Because this 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time is a fixed for Saturday and Sunday, and it will
Right.
be 2 hours solid till 7. So every Saturday and Sunday, that would be 5 to 7 and 5 to 7 p.m.
Got
India Standard Time.
Good.
Okay.
Got it.
Okay.
And
So yeah.
you'll, at the end of the course, will be getting help for kind of exam questions as well. I know we'll be getting the skills learned,
Hmm.
but if you want to pass the exam,
Yes.
we can
Everything, leave it to me. Exams is not a problem. I'll definitely share some of my knowledge way to crack the exam. But the main important thing is here, definitely certificate is very important, guys. But main important, just try to make the course possible and as much as useful for you, because try to learn as much as possible from that, because this more of the certifications, more deep dive discussion that we'll have probably, that would be really helpful for your career. That's the whole objective. Okay, like you ask some of the very relevant questions, some of others also. That is something's really day-to-day work, right? Database specialty, we don't know, maybe AWS will discontinue the certifications because they keep on doing the same thing for the lot of certification. Maybe they will bring up another certifications, but almost topic will be same. But that's why the important that today maybe database specialty, tomorrow maybe they will discontinue the database specialty, they will bring it to different certification, but the model should be same, the topic should be same, so that each and every services knowing and deep dive to the services is very important for your career actually. Yes, all right. Okay, let's wait for database to run, I think, and let's see if I can have more discussion. Okay, let's discuss something on the RDS proxy. Still have time, 15 minutes, and let's discuss what is RDS proxy. So RDS proxy, it is a really useful services for your database. So if you have ever dealt with databases, probably you know the main problem is connections, concurrent hits, concurrent connections, number of connections. So many customers, they say, okay, मेरा number of connections बहुत ज़्यादा है, so that means my database health is not very good, and so on and so forth. So in that case, you can really bring the another service called RDS proxy, and sometime also we propose elastic cache. I'll not get into right now. So that means if I have this RDS, okay, and then too many connections coming to RDS, and you see some of the connections, the database is not really effective. I mean, they are dormant, they are idle, they are not using anything. But if you hit more connections from your client applications, okay, from your applications, not hold on, from the applications. So if you have a too many connections applications, each and every connections will consume a significant database resources. It can be compute, it can be your memory. Okay, so maybe these two connections are really doing something okay, something really important, but these two connections are dormant or idle. but still it is consuming a whole lot of computing resources for your databases. So the moment you put another layer, which is RDS proxy, okay, so RDS, all of the connections actually hitting to RDS proxy now, okay, here. And then from RDS proxy, it will go to your database. So RDS proxy has an intelligence. Which session is doing something and which session is not doing something, so that it will gracefully, delete that session and keep on establishing only those sessions are really meaningful to your databases, right? And this proxy does have a whole lot of other works. It also does, like, some kind of the same sessions can be re-established, so that let's say this sessions is there and it is almost done, but there's from another application try to do something on the RDS, so the same sessions can be reused for other applications also. So there are a lot of things there's a RDS proxy does. The multiplexing options there, we'll discuss more on that. So if your customer says that, okay, I have a really lot of connections, I really need to manage this kind of thing, then you can propose the RDS proxy. Or at the market, third-party tool, there's a lot of third-party tools also there called PG Bench and all stuff. PG Bench is a PostgreSQL proxy. So in market, this is something called connections pooling. Connections pooling. This is a very common name in industry. Okay, not from AWS language. So connections pooling is a common name which exactly does the same thing. A third-party tool, as I said, there's a PG Bench and there's a lot of good, third-party tool there. But since we are talking from AWS language, so RDS proxy is doing the same thing like connections proxy, connections pooling. Okay, it's a good service for your sessions management if there are a lot of sessions for your customer. Okay, hope it makes sense the first day, and still the database now is available. Fantastic. So now you see there's a databases. Now we have a connections endpoint is up and running, and you go to monitoring sections. You will see the different CloudWatch monitoring, and that will be your bread and butter after some time, because a lot of performance issue it will come to you. Then first place you have to see this CloudWatch thing. I have some of the sample of my existing customer. Let me check if it's still there or not. Just hold on. This is for PDF this presentation. This is my documents. Okay, here you go. It's a screenshot. So you can see there are a lot of this is for SQL. So this kind of matrix you have to deal with, and there's one of the CloudWatch matrix which is write throughput. As I said, that customer, they have a very bad throughput, and then first we saw that there's a huge throughput there. That was the IOPS issue basically, and then we arrived the point that okay, there must be a IOPS issue, and there are a lot. There's another. This is something like anyway, so we'll discuss more on that. Okay, it's time to wrap up, everybody. If you have any further questions, let me know. I'm happy to try to clear your doubts. Otherwise, we will start the batch from next week, official launch of this course. No? All right then.
Thank you very much, sir. Very useful demo. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for your time as well. Okay. Bye as of now. Thanks. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks.